The date was September 3rd, 1260. The first breath of the new day rolled over the Palestinian highlands like a sigh from the earth itself. The morning sun rose through a haze of dust, hanging motionless above the hills, a copper disk on the horizon. The dry wind carried the smell of horse sweat, leather, and crushed grass, the scent of war. Across the stony plains of Galilee, an ocean of movement stirred. 20,000 Mongol warriors advanced in a single rolling wave, hooves hammering the hard earth, dust exploding behind them with every stride. Their armor, lacquered lamellar plates, caught the sunlight and flashed like scales on a mythical beast. Their composite bows, short, recurved, layered in horn and sinew, glimmered in the morning light. This army did not march, it thundered. For 4 decades, no power on earth had broken the momentum of this force. Since the rise of Temujin, Genghis Khan, the Mongols had rewritten the geography of human power. China had fallen, Korea had bowed, Persia lay in silent ruin, the Rus states were shattered, Poland, Hungary, Bulgaria, all crushed beneath hooves. Now they were entering the Valley of Ain Jalut, a narrow green corridor carved among the mountains, its heart fed by a spring of cool water. To the Mongols, the spring was merely another waypoint. To the world, it would become a turning point. The Mongol commander, Kitbuka Noyan, a battle-scarred veteran of campaigns across Eurasia, rode at the front. His face was carved from stone, his eyes sharp and tireless. He had served under Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis, and had earned his command not through bloodline, but through decades of battlefield brilliance. Kitbuka had survived the siege of Baghdad, had watched the Abbasid Caliph fall, and now carried the unstoppable momentum of that bloody triumph with him into Palestine. Ahead of him, the road led straight to Egypt, straight to Cairo, straight to the Mamluks, and he expected no resistance worthy of the Mongol name. The Mongols had recently seized Damascus, Aleppo, and the holy city of Jerusalem. Local rulers had bent the knee. Many Muslim cities believed the Mongols were a punishment sent by God. Their arrival was met with silence, fear, and resignation. But hidden among the hills overlooking the valley of Ain Jalut, one man watched the advancing tide with cold precision. Rukn al-Din Baibars al-Bundukdari, a man born in the Kipchak steppes, a slave turned knight, a warrior shaped by hardship and sharpened by hatred. His narrow eyes studied the Mongol vanguard, not with dread, but with calculation. Every hoofbeat, every formation, every tactical movement, he absorbed them. Baibars knew what almost no one else dared to believe. The Mongols could be defeated, not by numbers, not by brute strength, but by intelligence. The Mongol war machine. The Mongol army was more than a fighting force. It was a system, honed, disciplined, relentless. Every warrior carried multiple bows, knives, sabers, and lances. Each cavalryman could fire 20 arrows per minute while riding at full gallop, accuracy intact. Their structure was built on decimals, units of 10, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. Their communications, flags, horns, drums, messengers, allowed battlefield coordination unmatched in medieval warfare. But the most devastating weapon was not the bow. It was fear. The Mongols practiced psychological warfare at a scale unseen in human history. Word preceded them. Resist, and your city would be erased. Submit, and you might survive. This strategy had turned entire kingdoms into dust. In Persia, millions died in the sack of towns that resisted. In China, entire dynasties collapsed. In Baghdad, centuries of Islamic knowledge burned in a single week. The Mongols did not simply conquer enemies, they destroyed the idea of resistance itself. The Mamluk paradox. The Mamluks were the opposite of everything the Mongols expected. They were not nobles, not aristocrats, not aristocratic knights clinging to social rank. They were slaves transformed into soldiers, purchased as children from the Turkic steppes, converted to Islam, then subjected to one of the most brutal training regimes ever devised. From dawn to dusk, day after day, year after year, they learned one thing: the art of mounted war. They practiced archery until they could strike falling fruit from horseback. They drilled sword combat until blade movement became instinctive. They slept with weapons. They woke to weapons. They lived and breathed discipline, loyalty, and skill. By adulthood, the Mamluks were not ordinary cavalry. They were weapons forged in human form. And at their helm now stood two men: Sultan Qutuz, ruler of Egypt, fierce, intelligent, unshakable; Baibars, commander of the vanguard, brilliant, relentless, fearless. Together, they prepared to challenge the army that had never been defeated. The impossible choice. In 1259, Hulagu Khan received news that his brother, Mongke, great Khan of the Mongol Empire, had died. Mongol tradition required Hulagu to return east for the succession, so he withdrew the majority of the army, but he left behind one force led by Kitbuka to finish Egypt. Kitbuka believed it would be simple. He believed history had already decided the outcome, but Qutuz saw an opening, a glimmer, a path through the impossible. He sent envoys to Cairo's mosques. He gathered soldiers from Syria. He rode among his troops, speaking to them not as a ruler, but as a brother. And when the Mongol messengers arrived, demanding surrender, he ordered them killed, their heads nailed to Cairo's gates. The message to Egypt was clear: no more fear.
The battle draws near. At dawn on September 3rd, Kitbuka crested the ridge overlooking Ain Jalut and saw what he expected to see: a small Mamluk force near the spring. Perhaps 3,000 men. It was laughable. The Mongols advanced in perfect formation. He did not know that Baibars had personally selected the valley, narrow, enclosed, riddled with hidden passes. He did not know that 12,000 Mamluks were hidden in the hills. He did not know that Qutuz was waiting. And he did not know that Baibars had spent years studying Mongol methods, including the one weakness they could not escape: their hunger for pursuit. The feigned retreat. At bow range, Baibars raised his banner. He gave the order. The Mamluks retreated, not fleeing, withdrawing in a calculated tempo, fast enough to seem panicked, slow enough to remain tempting. Arrows flew from Mongol bows in black swarms. Mamluk riders fell. The ground darkened with blood, but the retreat continued, measured, deliberate, convincing. Kitbuka grinned. He ordered the pursuit, and the valley swallowed the Mongol army whole. The trap. 3 miles in, Baibars signaled. The Mamluk retreat stopped. From the hills erupted 2 full strike forces: 5,000 heavy cavalry under Sultan Qutuz on the east, 4,000 under Baibars' lieutenant on the west. The Mongols were surrounded. The valley shook with hoofbeats. Screams tore the air. Steel rang against steel. Dust turned the sky gray. The Mongols tried to reorganize. Signals failed. Formations collapsed. Their greatest advantage, mobility, was gone. Now the fight became hand-to-hand, and in close combat, the Mamluks were masters. Armor clashed, blades shattered bone, war horses collided like boulders in a flood.
Baibars cut through Mongol lines like lightning, sword rising and falling, eyes fierce, armor slick with blood. Kutus tore off his helmet and roared the cry that echoed through Islamic history, "O Islam! O Islam!" The battlefield surged. Kitbuka fought until the end, furious, proud, refusing to yield. He was struck down by a Mamluk lance, torn from his saddle, and died on the valley floor. The Mongol army broke. Those who fled carried the impossible news. The unstoppable had been stopped. The world after. Shockwaves rolled across continents. In Damascus, crowds rose against Mongol officers. In Aleppo, rebels tore down Mongol banners. In Baghdad, whispers spread. Maybe the age of terror was over. In Europe, kings rang church bells. In Cairo, Kutus returned in triumph, though his story ended violently when Baibars, driven by ambition, assassinated him and seized the sultanate. But the victory of Ain Jalut remained untouched. The Mongol advance never resumed. Their empire fractured. Their aura of invincibility died. And from the ashes of this triumph, the Mamluk Sultanate rose to dominate the Middle East for centuries, forging the path that would one day lead to the rise of the Ottomans. Ain Jalut was not merely a battle, it was a hinge of history, a turning point for civilization. It proved that no empire is eternal, no terror is absolute, and that even the greatest war machine ever built could fall to courage, discipline, and strategy. On that valley floor, the Mongol legend cracked, and the world changed forever.